All right, guys, I think we are live and good to go here. So it's draft week, right? It's freaking draft week. I mean, for me, like I feel like I've literally put in like at the very least an hour a day in just thinking about, videos aside,
Yep.
texting aside, all that kind of stuff. Um I feel like just thought alone, I just spend so much time like thinking about different scenarios in this draft. What about you, man? Do you feel like it's here or like it sprang up pretty quickly, or are you
Dude,
kind of
you know it's bad when I start texting you pictures of players. That's when you know the
yeah,
draft is getting serious. When I start sending you pictures, you know it's like, look out, trouble's coming. I'm excited, man, because it's like months and months of anticipation and guessing and educated guessing and rumors and smoke screens. And now you're here. You're 2 days away. Everybody's excited. And I have a whole new philosophy to the draft. I've completely changed my vision for this team, which is a lot different than yours, I think. So I'm excited, man. It's like these are the final pieces of your team as you go into training camp. You can make a couple, free agent moves after this, but this is it. This is, Joe Douglas's big last splash before we get ready for the season.
dude. You know what's absolutely insane? Joe Douglas has had so many first round picks. Like
Yep.
this is, I think, literally going to be his eighth or ninth first rounder. Like to quickly go through them: Becton, Zach Wilson, AVT, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, Jermaine Johnson, Will McDonald, and this player is going to be for
Yep.
8 first round picks, and that's not including Quinnen, who's the third overall pick.
Yep.
In 20, like right before Douglas took
Yep.
over. Dude, the Jets have a lot of former first round picks. I mean, some are kind of like it's irrelevant to talk about, like CJ Mosley and stuff. But
Yep.
man, I mean, there's a lot of
Well,
a lot of talent there.
the one we could talk about real quick, we're not spending a lot of time on it, but we got to talk about it, was the trade of Zack Wilson, where we knew it was going to happen, right? We just assumed that it was a matter of time before it got done. I'm glad it got done before the draft. Get whatever compensation you can. We could all move on. And I think also it opens up a spot where it's like, now the Jets are probably going to draft a quarterback because now they only have 2 in the roster, right? So, but the one thing with Zack Wilson that I found strange, and I'm gonna take a lot of heat from this, I genuinely don't care, is that a lot of people were dunking on Zack on the way out, like, oh, Zack sucked, Zack was terrible, which was true. He wasn't very good. But I think the Jets as an organization also drastically failed with him as well, dude. Their plan for him from the start, the middle, the end was not good. The way they handled him, the way they coached him up, there were so many things went wrong. It was just like as a fan, I'm not happy about this. Like, okay, Zack with the Broncos, like, I'm not celebrating this. This is a failed second pick overall that set us back a couple years. And the Jets at this point have proven they can't develop a quarterback. So they had to go out and get Aaron Rodgers. Like, I don't understand the whole celebrating it. No, I'm so happy he's gone. Like, dude, it's a big hit for the organization. It's a failure for him and the team, right? Am I missing something?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's kind of like it is what it is. That's just the bottom line, right? Zach Wilson was taken second overall. It didn't work out for whatever reason, right? If it's 50-50, if it's 60-40, one way or another. I mean, I'm with you. I think it was. It's tough because I feel like the Jets did not put Zach in a position to have success.
Nope.
Whether it's the offensive line, whether it's the coaching staff, whether it's throwing him out there early, forcing him to start as a rookie, just giving him the starting job, giving him the backup job immediately.
Yep.
I mean, even like going down the coaching tree, like was Calabrese the right guy to develop Zach? Not even having a veteran early on in the process for Zach, it was literally it was James Morgan and Mike White, who at that point in time did not. They had 0 combined regular season starts. But I think Zach, the one thing Zach did get was a lot of chances.
Yes, he did.
A lot of chances, man. And they did give him Garrett Wilson. They did give him Tyler Conklin. They did give him Breece Hall. He did have some weapons, unlike a Sam Darnold, who had horrible coaching, horrible O-line, horrible weapons too. Zach definitely not in a good situation, but he did or was provided more, in my opinion. So I think for me, man, like it was one of those situations where we weren't going to get a lot for him.
No, of course not.
So just trade him away, get something in return, move on, clear the money, or at least some of it. And also kind of put Zach in Zach didn't want to come back to this team, man. No. It was just like that ship was sailed. I think it's a good trade for him too. Go learn with Sean Payton, closer to home. We'll see what happens there.
Chance to start. Yeah, I think he's got a chance to start there. Great coaching, Sean Payton. Fresh start, closer to home. Yeah, out there. I think there was so many things went wrong for him. With the Jets, with him. I think once it started trickling downwards, it just went, it was all downhill. When he got outplayed by Mike White, the team quit on him. Like, this trade should have literally happened last year. We shouldn't have been in the spot this year with him. He should have been gone last year. So I'm glad they got something too. Like, listen, I'm glad we're moving on. It was just weird to see the reactions where the Jets just grossly just mishandled him, and he got sucked into the Jets vortex of just a failing quarterback and couldn't overcome it. And he just wasn't good. He needed a true freshman year a redshirt year that he never got. It should have been this year. It should have been last year. Like, all things he should have gotten, he never received. And now he's going to Denver where a chance to play. But now he's playing for a contract too. So it'll be interesting to see what he does in Denver. I don't have no ill will towards him. Like, I don't hate him. I'm like, let him flourish. I don't care. When we play him, let's smack him around. Like, make his game opening the home opener for all I care. But it's interesting to see the reactions with him, man.
I think Outlaw said it perfectly here, right? He was bad. He was picked too high.
Yep.
But the Jets have to do a better job with these young quarterbacks.
100%.
I agree. I mean, when you have fans calling out obvious changes that in my opinion, need to be made or like are unacceptable if they aren't happening, there's a bit of an issue there, right? Again, I don't think Zack had so many opportunities year after year, 2 different coaching staffs, learned, had Aaron Rodgers in his corner, had some weapons around him. But the Jets could have done some things a little bit differently, gave him that redshirt year, or even like sat him 10 weeks or half the year, or gave him, instead of trading for Joe Flacco, giving away a late round pick in the middle of the season, you could have just signed Joe Flacco.
Yeah.
And had him there from the beginning in preseason, and maybe Flacco would have started, but whatever, he's gone. We can't cry over spilled milk. And I'm just kind of happy that the chapter's over, right? The book is closed on it. We can just move forward, turn the page. Aaron Rodgers, Tyrod Taylor, and potentially a young quarterback. And we have a couple of mock drafts here that I wanted to take a look at, right? From actually, you sent some over 33rd team, which is like a co-general manager, or I guess ex-general manager mock draft. And then PFT dropped his first round today as well. But before we dive into that, I think a really good question here is the whole young quarterback situation in the draft. Do you think it's worth taking one there, maybe mid or late rounds?
I mean, you look at it this way: he's going to learn from Tyrod Taylor and Aaron Rodgers and not be forced to play whatsoever. You could literally just sit and watch for a couple of years. I mean, I'm not looking 3rd round. If you want to look 4th round, you want to look later than that, I'm cool with it. Project guy, it's like, that's fine. Like, this is the way it should be done. You get him and just sit and watch, man. We don't expect you to play. And we're so glad that Tyrod Taylor is here. So you figure for the next 2 years, in theory, you have 2 quality quarterbacks. The quarterback conversation is not even what we're having. We know who the guys are. That's it. Score points, win games. That's all. Of course, I mean, I wouldn't think 3rd round though, man. I think it's going to be 4th round or later. I mean, where are you going?
Yeah, I agree. I think 4th round is the sweet spot. I think if they want to like get a little cute with it and take one in the 3rd round, it might just be too high because we don't have that 2nd round pick. If we had the 2nd round pick,
exactly,
all of a sudden, I think it opens up the door for, a lot of possibilities in round 3. But again, we don't have it. I mean, that's such a massive gap in between pick 10 and pick, 72?
Yep.
Dude, that's like 60 something picks right there. Like, you can't, it's just a lot, man. It sucks. Every time I'm looking at these mock drafts, I see Green Bay picking like in that early top 2. I'm like, oh damn, that should be our pick.
Yeah, but you look at it like this, where it's like, all right, not having the 2nd round pick sucks. Completely agree with you. But this is where everybody keeps talking about, you know what? If your guy's not there at 10, trade back, go to 15, go to 16, whatever else. Try to recoup that. You can trade up in the 3rd round. There's ways you can offset that huge gap. It's just you're sacrificing that top 10 pick. That's what you're sacrificing. So it's either, I'm probably going to disagree with a lot of people today where I'm like, you can be aggressive and say, you know what? I'm going up to get my guy. Or you say, you know what? I'm going to drop back and get more pieces to my puzzle. Trade back, get another piece. So you have 2 instead of 1. So it's like, you want quality or quantity? How do you want to handle it? That's kind of where the Jets are, I think, right now.
Yeah. Is there any young quarterback that kind of stands out to you? A Michael Pratt, a Rattler, a Jordan Travis? Anybody?
I mean, Jordan Travis is interesting as hell, dude, because it's a true, like, he's not playing this year. Like, you have him and he's going to sit and just watch, and he's got a tremendous amount of talent. So that's, it doesn't even impact your roster, to be honest with you, right?
Yeah, Kevin. I'm not really too big on JJ McCarthy.
A lot of people aren't.
I'm just not really buying the hype.
I mean,
to me, like, go ahead.
but is there a guy that you're looking at saying, you know, in the 4th round you'll be tempted, or would you rather wait later on? Like, I'm curious to see where Jordan Travis would even go.
Dude, I think Travis is gonna go late. I think Travis is gonna go round 6
I think so too.
because of the leg injury, man. Like if he finished the season, I personally, I know I'm from Florida, but I think if Jordan Travis did not get hurt, the Knowles are in the playoff.
Oh, 100%.
But whatever. Again, that's in the past. I think Jordan Travis, there's some size question marks and whatnot. I mean, I like how Travis really battled through adversity
Yep.
because he came in as like a 3-star recruit
Yep.
and didn't, he wasn't like just given the job. It was just like, no, you got to go win it. And now just because you won it doesn't mean that it's just yours. Like you have to keep playing well. There were times where, they thought about potentially making a change after the year, but they didn't. Right. So, but I think for me,
what do you think about Pratt?
Michael Pratt is probably my go-to option around 4. Rattler is interesting. I just don't think he's going to be there.
I don't think so either.
But I think Spencer Rattler just throws such a gorgeous ball.
Yep.
Has great mechanics. I think a lot of people look at that documentary when he was in high school and talk about, him as a bad teammate, no leadership, just kind of a jerk, which was on display. But man, that was so long ago. In South Carolina, they run a pro style under center type of offense. I think if you go really for anybody, if you were to go watch a Spencer Rattler interview now, whether it's pre-draft or just, a Spencer Rattler post-game presser, you're going to be like, wow, this is night and day compared to, the early days of Oklahoma. And again, that whole documentary thing. So I think he's such an interesting name, but I would not be surprised if he's like within that first like 10 picks in round 3.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah, and I think, and like the guys, like, everybody's saying in the chat, like, well, this guy sucks, this guy sucks. Well, it's like, if you go in the 6th round, it's a true project. It's like you're taking a flyer on a player, no expectations whatsoever, hoping that sitting next to Aaron Rodgers for 2 years and Tyrod, that you can learn a tremendous amount and and maximize whatever skill sets in that body. You'll just say, hey, it's worth a shot. Like Mike White, nobody had any idea who he was. He went out and did some, like, there's stories all over the NFL. We saw it with Cleveland. Guys coming off the field out of nowhere, boom, throwing touchdown passes. So it's a shot in the dark that's worth taking when you only have 2 quarterbacks in your roster.
Yeah, and so Mike, you're talking about how Michael Pratt wasn't, all that great at the Senior Bowl. Personally, I get that. I totally understand that. But for me, the number one thing when it comes to draft prospects is the tape, right? It's watching the team play. And he did his thing at Tulane. So I don't want to just, look at the 1 week at the Senior Bowl against some, solid competition and say, man, this guy's going to suck at the next level. But, again, I think if we're talking about, future franchise quarterbacks, they're not just like scattered throughout the 4th, 5th, and 6th round. Like you got to be lucky. You got to find that like Kirk Cousins, that, I don't want to use Tom Brady, but that Brock Purdy, where it's just, where everything kind of lines up, where, he comes in and works. He's a good teammate. He fits the system. The coaches believe in him. He's not like screwed where, he has to jump through hoops to please the staff or anything. So I think, again, the Jets are in a really, really good position where we know for a fact that young rookie quarterback will not play the season.
Yep.
And
100%.
Dude, 30 plus years of football quarterback experience between Taylor and Rodgers that they can just unleash on the rookie quarterback, right? Just pour all their knowledge into him. I think that's really, that plus time on the bench is going to be really, enticing. The only downside is like, do you really want Hackett developing, a rookie quarterback? It's just like, I don't know.
Yeah, well, and with that same mindset is you have, Tyrod Taylor and Aaron Rodgers. Look at the offensive line. We talked about it a million times. Tyron Smith, Morgan Moses. Guys, you can learn from these guys. It's like perfect. Like you have these veteran mentors that played at a very high level. Tyron Smith, all-time great, which is going to be a great benefactor to, like, if you benefit to the young player you draft. Hey, if you don't have to play right now, sit and watch this guy for the next 17 weeks.
Yeah.
I hate that idea.
For sure, man, for sure. So yeah, dude, for me, I think a quarterback is probably, because we traded Zack Wilson before the draft, what team really goes into the season with 2 QBs and that's it?
Yep.
Or not even season. Camp, right? Like normally you see at least 3 to 4.
Yep. No.
On pretty, I would say like 90 to 95% of teams. So I think we will be adding at least one,
Yep.
whether that's in the draft. I don't see another veteran being brought in,
Nope.
but maybe one of these like younger guys that if they maybe miss out in the draft, like Pratt goes a lot higher, Jordan Travis gets scooped up by another team, and they want to, the Jets maybe want to take a swing on one of these like younger guys that have maybe flamed out in their
Yep.
original or with their original team, like a Malik Willis or something, just trying to, spitball some names.
Yep.
Malik Willis from Tennessee, or maybe one guy gets cut like a Bailey Zappi, right? With a new quarterback coming in, young quarterback, the franchise. Zappi's just, they would rather move forward with just Brissett and May or something like that.
Yeah, but I think if you're a veteran quarterback, you don't want to come here because your chances of you seeing the field will be very, very limited. So it's going to be some guy that's looking to save his NFL career, learn, catch on, and just improve. You know what I mean? That's kind of where I'm at least. But I mean, you could be an undrafted guy as well. Joe Douglas likes doing that. Just bring bodies in here. Bring a couple guys in here, let them compete. Best man wins. Bring them to training camp.
100%, man. 100%. So yeah, let's take a look at some of these mock drafts. If you're now, which one do you want to look at?
Hold on, but before we go into the mock drafts.
Yeah.
What is your mindset going into this draft? Because as we compare these mock drafts, I'm going to tell you right now, I've changed. I've seen the light, Ian. I've seen the light.
I know. Yeah. Explain the pictures that you send me throughout the week.
So I've been sitting here, and for the longest time, I had myself convinced that the Jets need offensive line, pick 10. We got to protect Aaron Rodgers. But then I realized I got smacked in the head a couple times, and it was like, you know what? They made enough moves right now to have a solid offensive line. If you're worried about depth, you have Carter Warren, you have Max Mitchell. You could also very easily go out and sign McGovern, Bakhtiari, Donovan Smith. That is enough to hold the fort for this year. That's enough for Aaron Rodgers to get rid of the football and make plays. What we don't have is we need to upgrade the wide receiver room desperately. I love Mike Williams. He's coming off a major injury. Garrett Wilson. Basically, we have 1.5 receivers right now. Because I'm not counting Lazard. I'm not counting Brownlee. We have 1.5. I want 2.5. And that means we need to trade up to get one of the top 3 receivers, and there's no reason why we shouldn't. Go big or go home year, a win-now year, score as many points as possible, be as explosive as humanly possible. Why settle for less when you can get more, right? So depending on how these mock drafts play out, I'm looking to move up, man. I am. I don't want to sit and wait and be like, all right, at number 10, the top 3 receivers are gone, the top 2 linemen are gone, and we're going to sit and like, all right, do you want Bowers? Do you want Brian Thomas Jr.? Why debate about this? Go get the receiver you really want. Going from 10 to 8 isn't going to cost you that much. Hell, even going to 6 isn't going to be that much, or 7. You can do it. You don't have to give away your number 1 pick next year. I don't care about my second-round pick next year. Don't care about it. If that's what it means to get Odunze or Neighbors, if I can get Neighbors, we're doing cartwheels. If you want to go really big and go get Marvin Harrison Jr., I'm fine with that too. I'm all in, man. Big year. Let's go crazy here.
But so that's all well and good, right? I love, dude, you know me, I love Neighbors, I love Harrison, love Brian Thomas, but why? So let me ask you this: when you're talking about a trade up, where are you identifying the trade up at in the top 10 to go get Malik Neighbors? Like
probably 6.
Okay,
I'm thinking Marvin Harris Jr. goes 4. He goes to the Cardinals. I'd be shocked if he doesn't go there. Right.
Okay, so let's kind of play this thing out.
Okay.
Why would the Giants on the other side of this trade move down from 6 to 10, drop 4 spots for a 2025 second round pick when Dayball's on the hot seat? They have no receivers. GM could potentially be on the hot seat, and they're just going to get a future pick to slide back 4 spots. I'm just playing devil's advocate.
Or if we give them like a 4th this year, a 2nd next year, you can do all kinds of different things. I mean, I'm throwing the ideas out there, but I think if the Giants think they can get the guy they want at 10 instead of at 6, and you could add draft compensation, that's a win for them. Like say in theory, say they want like a receiver or a quarterback. If they can go down to 10, still get their quarterback, why not go down to 10, add more draft compensation, and have a win there? That's kind of how I'm looking at it. I understand what you're saying, though. It's like, why would you do this? It depends on who they really covet the most and what you're going to offer to get them to change their mind. Or if it means going to the Falcons or Tennessee Titans, whoever it is, I think you give them an offer that's going to really tempt them. Be like, all right, listen, we got to really think about this. And who else, if we don't do this, what's our plan B in the draft?
So like, imagine if this is some like crazy next type of dimension, right? And we're sitting here as Giants fans right now debating this, and we get this trade idea. We can move back knowing how bad, how horrible we are on the offensive side of the football, specifically wide receiver, and we're both super high Malik Neighbors, and you're watching the Giants on draft night, and boom, we're at 10, and we only get like a fourth this year. See, I think the compensation is going to have to be a ton to move up in this year's class, because I think for me, I think the team that you don't really have to give up a lot to go get or a lot to move up with is the Falcons at 8.
Yep. I agree.
I think that's going to be the spot that maybe Tennessee, right? Like if they love Olu, if they love Fuaga or Latham or somebody like that, and they feel like they can develop him with Callahan as, their new offensive, really head coach, and then his father is the new O-line coach, and he's one of the best offensive line coaches in football. I mean, there's like a belief in the Titans regime that they can just really maximize every single player on the offensive line because of Callahan.
Yep.
So if they are kind of thinking, all right, we can move back 2 spots or 3 spots and go get a future second and a fourth.
Yep.
I think they'll do that. Maybe if they like another one of these offensive linemen, or if they're just saying, if they're going to just say, screw it, we want pass catcher, we want Brock Bowers, yeah, sure, Jets, you can come up and move up. But I think 6 and up is just going to be so damn difficult to trade up for if you're not going to include a first round pick, and we don't have a second this year.
Yep. To me, 6 is the sweet spot. Like going to 4, like I've seen people like, well, let's go to 4 to the Cardinals. I think you're really mortgaging a lot of your draft compensation there. To me, it's like the Giants tempt me 6, 7, 8. But my mission is move up and get the friggin' receiver, dude. Like get him. Because here's my question for you. Because I know enough to be dangerous. I'll be honest. Like I'm not like a draft guru. I know I watch things. I watch film. I study things. I watch a lot of analysts. What do you think the drop off is from the top 3 receivers, Marvin Harrison Jr., Neighbors, Odunze, to a guy that I know you like, Brian Thomas Jr.? Is it like these 3 are game-breaking talent, or do you think it's like Marvin Harrison Jr., Neighbors, elite, Odunze, step down, keep going, step down? Like what are your, in terms of talent, like what they're bringing to the table? What's your like separator?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I look at Harrison as the best receiver in the class. I think he's so smooth with pretty much everything he does. He can like coax corners into, biting and putting moves on guys. Red zone, dominant. 50-50 balls, great. Athleticism, he could run by guys. He obviously has size. He does a really good job of tapping his toes, getting both feet in on the sidelines. Never really takes a big hit. I just love Harrison. Ultimate professional, great teammate. Obviously, son of senior.
Yep.
So he's been around the NFL game. He knows what it takes. He has a great support system. And I mean, dude, you can literally put on like a 20-minute highlight reel of Marvin Harrison, and there's a highlight every 10 seconds. And the freaking video is 20 minutes, dude. It's just play after play after play after play. There's a reason for that. I think Harrison's 1 in my book. And then 1A is Neighbors.
Mm-hmm.
I think he's just so explosive. He can put moves on people. He can take any play, a slant, a screen, whatever it is. If he has the football in his hands, he can take it the distance.
Yep.
And go score a touchdown. I think Malik Neighbors is going to be crazy in the NFL. I kind of like, not the whole LSU thing aside, but similar to how Odell like hit the Giants and was just so explosive.
Yeah.
He runs so hard and so aggressively. Like it takes it personal. He's just a lot of fun to watch. And then I think there is a drop off for me. Brian Thomas is 3. I think he. Okay. Did you want to?
No, go good.
Yeah, no. For me, BTJ is 3. I think he is he has similar explosiveness to Neighbors, especially off the line. Like there's plays, dude, where literally in a second, right? If he beats a corner that's pressed up on him and gets behind him, the play's over. All the quarterback Jane Daniels has to do is just chuck it up to him, right. And it's a TD. Size, athleticism. This dude is 6'3", over 200 pounds, who ran a 4.33.
Yeah.
I mean, dude, like that is just crazy, crazy speed. Obviously, the production, 17 touchdowns last year as the number 2 receiver for LSU. Brian Thomas is my number 3 because he can separate. I know there's some questions about route tree and whatnot, but I just feel like his athleticism translates so damn well to the next level, and he can just break free of secondary members without a lot of issues. 4 is Odunze.
Now, how much?
Um,
How much value do you have Brian Thomas Jr. over Dunze? Is it a significant gap, or is it like?
so, I mean, for me, it kind of depends on the team because, like for example, I think Odunze would be a great fit for the Jets. What they want to do because Odunze, I mean, I guess Brian Thomas too can, he lines up on the inside, but Odunze seems to me like physicality and toughness are at the top of his game. Contested catches, catching the football, seeking contact, right? I'm going to look for defenders. I'm going to try to run through them. With Thomas, I feel like he's just more of an explosive player compared to Odunze. And I'm just being 100% honest. I do have a concern about Odunze separating consistently at the next level, right? Being able to create space between him and corners, him and safeties, because if you aren't doing that on a week-to-week basis in the Pac-12, you're not going to be doing it week-to-week basis in the NFL.
Right.
Corners are better, they're faster. Safeties are better, they're faster, they're smarter. Defensive coordinators are better and smarter for the most part. Defenses could just, completely blanket receivers, but Odunze kind of wins, in his jump balls, in his contested catches. But I just, I think again, I guess maybe the top tier is Harrison and Neighbors step down, Brian Thomas and Odunze, but Thomas is definitely like the 2A in my opinion.
Okay.
And then Odunze is kind of right there, but that's just my personal preference. So
in your world, it's just like you wouldn't have to trade up because there's a good chance one of those guys is going to be there at 10. The way you kind of broke it down, right? Because if in your Brian Thomas Jr. would go ahead of Odunze would fall to 10. The Jets would hit the jackpot. They wouldn't be forced to trade up.
I think Odunze is going to be there at 10.
You think so?
I mean, I guess we can also take a look at some of these mocks.
Yeah.
To kind of see different situations and scenarios here. But I think personally, I'm just not buying the Bears taking another receiver.
No, me neither. Mine.
Keenan Allen, dude. Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, Gerald Everett, DJ Moore, DeAndre Swift, Caleb Williams. Like, dude, is this guy going to be dropping back 40 times a game?
Nope.
Plus, Caleb can move around and, make plays a little bit with his feet. I'm just not buying it, man. Like, are they really going to invest in a top 10 pick in a room that they feel pretty good about? I just don't. I think they're going to go D end or D tackle or something. I wouldn't rule out, it's so tough. I'm just thinking Eberflus is going to want a defensive guy.
No, I agree. I completely agree. Yeah, something like right now, there's so much nonsense out there, smoke screens and rumors. Everybody's trying to throw everything against the wall to throw everybody off. You kind of look at what's their true need here, and I just can't see when it's like a premium pick, a top 10 pick. I just don't see it.
Yeah. So, man, I guess I think for me, if you're specifically talking about Odunze, the pick for me is the Giants at 6. I think because I'm not, if I was a Giants fan, I don't want a quarterback.
No, me neither.
I'm not a big Daniel Jones guy at all.
Nope.
But dude, like Daniel Jones has nothing at receiver. I like Jalen Hyatt's potential, but like, do they really have a wide receiver that is keeping defensive coordinators up at night?
Nope.
Waller is considering retiring.
Yep.
Barkley's now on the rival Eagles. There's already questions on the O-line too. Like they're going to, but Jones is getting paid a ton of money for this year. So with like Dable on the hot seat, gosh, I just, especially like there's rumors of like the Giants trading up to go get like McCarthy or May, and like they would sit for a year. Like, dude, that to me, the Giants, in my opinion, have like a bottom 3 roster in football.
Yeah.
That's not the position that I want to be drafting a quarterback in, potentially with my coach on the hot seat. The Patriots are different because Mayo just got hired.
Yeah.
AVB just, rebuild. Everybody knows what's going to happen there.
Yep.
But with the Giants, like there is pressure to win. I just don't think they have the roster to do it. But that's kind of my take on, at 6. So, man, if the QB smoke is real, I could, and the Giants want to go QB, that really works out for us. If not, though, I think wide receiver is the easy pick for them.
Yeah, I mean, that's the most fascinating thing about all of this, because every mock draft, it's like, well, let's have the conditions no trade-ups, because there's so many people that covet these quarterbacks, like even Sneakers to Boots, who says, like, you know what, there's a good chance 4 quarterbacks could go in a row if the Cardinals trade out, or 4 out of the 5 picks, depending on what the Chargers do. Like, there's so many teams that are desperate for quarterback help that could turn the whole draft board upside down. But if 4 out of the 5 picks are quarterbacks, that means you're getting closer to getting neighbors, man. And I'm like, you know what? I'm interested. I'm willing to make the call and spend a little bit and see what you can get. It may not work out, but just be aggressive for it.
Here's a question. Would you rather take Odunze at 10 or move up to 4 to 5 to go get Harrison? But I think really, the problem here for the Jets, and talking about a potential trade up, the Cardinals, the Chargers, and the Giants desperately need wide receivers.
Yep.
So,
well, the Chargers could get clever, though, because they have a lot of holes, man. They wiped out their entire receiver core. They're all gone. So they may be like, we need quantity over quality, despite we need friggin' players. So if we go from 5 to 10, we can still get Brian Thomas Jr., and we can get more draft capital and make this and rebuild through the draft. That could be the way they do it, too. They're not saying they're not a good team, but they have a lot of holes now, man. So they could say, we feel comfortable with the disparity between, say, Marvin Harrison Jr. and Brian Thomas, because I can get more draft picks. So Harbaugh could trade back, man, and just keep adding picks. They got a lot of things they got to address.
Yeah, for sure. No, I definitely could see the Chargers moving back.
You hate my approach. I can see it. You hate my approach.
No, dude, I seriously don't mind it. I would like it better, though, if the Jets were just more prepared to move forward into the future years, right?
Oh.
Like, we don't have the future pick for Hassan Reddick.
Yep.
So we can't technically move that 3rd or 2nd rounder because it's a conditional pick. At least, this year. We don't have a 2nd this year. Tyron Smith's on a 1-year deal. Morgan Moses is on a 1-year deal. Rodgers is 40. We have a really thin receiving core. I just, if we had more cemented pieces on the roster, or more draft picks on the roster,
yeah,
I would feel a lot more comfortable trading up.
But yeah, I mean, I'm just desperate, dude. I'm looking at this is a true 2-year window where this team has to win football games, a lot of football games, or we're blowing it all up. And it's gonna be like, you know what? We're starting over again. But if I'm starting over again and we're handing a young quarterback, Breece Hall, Garrett Wilson, Malik Neighbors, and whatever. I mean, you got like all these playmakers. That's one thing most young quarterbacks don't have, is you're surrounded by talent all over the place. I don't mind that much. The problem you have is twofold: is you don't have the draft picks, and you have an offensive line that's a complete in flux. We don't know what's going to happen to AVT. As of right now, they didn't pick up his option, which I was a little surprised by that. So you could be looking for 3 starters next year again on the offensive line, which is kind of. So I'm just, I don't know, man. Like this goes against everything I believe in, my mindset now. But I'm like, if we are truly in this desperate all-in year, go all in and get the best receiver you could possibly get in the draft. And it may not be Martin Harrison Jr. Maybe you're number 2 or number 3 guy, but don't settle for less. Like, I hate, sometimes I think we get too cute. Like, oh, we're going to do this. We're going to surprise people. No, go with the known commodity that you truly, truly believe in and see what happens.
Would you consider trading up for Joe Alt?
Oh, yeah, I knew you were going to do this to me. I knew it. No, I've talked myself out of it. It's got to be receiver. And the thing is, too, it's like, and I like Alt. I'm a Notre Dame guy. But it's just like, at some point, you have to have faith in this coaching staff to actually have a competent offensive line that can block. Aaron Rodgers can get rid of the football, and we can play winning football and explosive football. And that happens with elite playmakers. Because look at the team the Jets got to compete against, man. You got to beat the Chiefs, the Bills, all these teams. And you're one Garrett Wilson injury away from being in deep trouble. Because we don't know what we have in Mike Williams right now until he gets fully healthy and proves it for a continuous, a long period of time. So why take away that concern? Like, you know what? We're going to have we have 3 receivers we trust now. But
I could push back and say we're one Tyron Smith injury away from having a potential turnstile at left.
That's why you're signing Bakhtiari. Okay, then I'm with your argument. That's why my plan B is right at the draft. Bakhtiari, Connor McGovern, sign him. Hope Carter Warren is good, because you can do the same thing with the receivers, man. Like, you know what? We go and get, say, a receiver in the 3rd round, but we're going to go sign Beckham and Tyler Boyd and Hunter Renfrow. So, like, all those guys. So you can have that same contingency plan. I just want that young tandem, Garrett Wilson and what Neighbors, Odunze, whoever it is, for the next 5 years playing together. Like that could be your bookmark for your offense. And then you throw in Brees Hall, 3 stars. Like that's how you win games.
Yeah. I'm not.
I'm selling my soul, man. I know I am. Like I went against everything I believe in. I'm an offensive line guy. I'm tired of seeing Aaron Rodgers. Like I don't want to see him get beat up. We saw Zach get crushed, Mike White get crushed, Sam Darnold. Like I know, but at the same time, we haven't seen the team score points. I want to score points.
I think, man, I truly do believe wide receiver is the team's biggest need.
Yep.
But just because it's the biggest need, in my opinion, doesn't. And it, by the way, dude, it's not to say if the Jets walk away with freaking Marvin Harrison or Malik Neighbors on draft night, we trade up. I'm going to be ecstatic.
Yep.
I think this is like razor thin. We're just splitting hairs here, right? What is the best potential outcome of the draft? Whether the Jets walk away with Thomas, Odunze, Neighbors, Harrison, Alt, Olu, Bowers, whoever, dude, we're going to be filling a need. We're going to be drafting a guy with a high ceiling, somebody who could potentially be here for the next 5 to 10 years at all of those positions. All of those outside of tight end is a position of need. So I think they're going to have, whether it's immediately in week 1 or midway through the season or by year 2, they're going to be starting on this football team.
Yeah. Now, the question I had for you, and this is like the controversial question that's going to get everybody all in an uproar. It's like, all right, say you're unable to move up. You get the top, say you're in your world, your top 3 receivers are gone. You're sitting at 10. Do you consider Bowers a tight end or a slot receiver? Like how are you treating Bowers? Is he just considered like a playmaker that I can maximize his potential all over, doing a variety of different things? Or is he like, are you considering a tight end that's going to be overdrafted? Like what kind of title do you give Bowers at 10 if you're taking him?
I think I would just look at him as an offensive weapon, right? What can Bowers do? Right. We're going to do all of those things, right? If it's winning on the big critical downs, 3rd and 4th downs, we're going to target him there. If it's over the middle of the field, if it's off of play action, if it's in the red zone, if it's on the inside, lining up as like a slot, or if it's lining up like on the line of scrimmage, attached to the O-line. I think there's so many things that Bowers can do. I'm going to maximize that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But if you had a choice, if it comes down to your 4th receiver, Odunze versus Bowers, who would you take? Okay. That's
because I like Conklin.
That's
and I have questions over Lazard. I have questions. I like Brownlee a lot. But, if the Jets are operating as like this win now season, like this whole sellout or like, we got to make it happen this year.
Right.
Then let's just fill the need. Tight end to me is not a need. Right. I think Bowers is just the exception because he's so damn good as a prospect.
Right. And that's interesting because some people are saying, well, you consider him like a slot receiver. He could do this, he could do that. I'm like, that's one way of looking at it. Yeah, I get it. Like, I'm not like a anti-Bowers guy. If they get him, it's like, all right, hopefully Aaron Rodgers can use him right. Hopefully Hackett knows how to scheme him open to find things for him to do. Like, I'm about a playmaker. I'm just not sure if he's in my top 4 playmakers. That's kind of where you wonder where you rank him, with the 4 receivers in him, like where you put him.
So, like the Buffalo Bills kind of did something similar last year where, they had Diggs as like the number 1 option. Yep. And then they drafted Kincaid, and he early on with Dorsey wasn't really like heavily involved. But then when they made the switch to Joe Brady, it was almost like Diggs got phased out.
He did. Yep.
And Kincaid became like the number 1 pass catching option in the Bills offense, along with James Cook in the passing game.
Yeah.
And now you're looking at the team in 2024, like this year, no Diggs, Kincaid, and they have Dawson Knox coming back. Yeah. So it's like, I think the Bills offense is going to run a lot through the middle. I know they could probably draft a wide receiver this year. They really need to, in my opinion. But, could we see something similar with the Jets where this year it's like, all right, you got Garrett Wilson as your number 1 option within the offense in the pass game. And then Bowers is kind of that the go-to secondary. Yeah. What happens with Mike Williams' health? Because I don't see a situation where if Bowers is the 10th overall pick, he's like the 3rd guy being looked at within the offensive play.
He's got to be. Yeah, you would think he's got to be. And then like that kind of discounts Conklin, who I think is a very good player. Like I think Conklin's done a lot with a little in terms of quarterback play and bad play calling. But you figure like you give him like a legitimate quarterback and like an actual offense that's running smoothly, he could put up huge numbers.
Kevin, yeah, I am going to be live. Tyson actually might pop in.
I'm in. Let's do this.
which would be really cool. And I'm gonna be streaming with my brother too, and he's never on the channel, so that should be really cool. Let's see, Mike, Ian and Tyson, would you trade number 10, number 72, and JFM for 5? I would do that.
I would. I would
I would do that because another thing too, you can move up to 5, go get your receiver, or Joe Walter, whoever you want at 5, but you're also clearing a bunch of money with JFM,
Yep.
and we're pretty loaded at the end. So
Yeah,
the only downside is like you go from pick 5 to pick 111, so you have literally 90 something picks, and you still have your O-line question marks.
Yeah, but then you find ways to move up though. You got to move up. If you have to offer up some compensation next year to move up from 4th round up somewhere, you can find ways to do it. But there too, and also that's having faith in your defensive approach too. Like we have a very good defense. It's a little bit of a setback, but you can overcome that. Go from a great defense to a very good defense with an offense that's going to score a lot of points. That should help your defense tremendously.
Yeah, with saving some money too.
Yep.
All right, so you want to take a look at some of these mocks?
What's up, Oscar? I just want to say hi to Oscar. The Muppets rolling there, man.
Let me see. Bills might take a corner to replace Tre'Davious. Good point. Really good point.
They need a receiver in a worse way, though.
K-Dude, what's going on, man? Tyson, if you were Joe Douglas, would you draft a star wide receiver? Jet Central at 10.
I mean, Jet Central's he's got to. Jet Central's a star. You got to take Jet Central at 10.
Drafting me at 10?
Yeah, of course. You're a superstar.
Dude, I'm not even in game shape. I gotta post some stuff on IG. It's been so long since I posted stuff on there. I've just gotten back into like kind of throwing the football around, and I missed it. Maybe I'll post like random videos doing that stuff. I don't know. Let's see. No one will take Lazard damaged goods in 10 million. Yeah, I don't see anybody giving any sort of asset away for Lazard.
You got to eat money in that contract in order to get rid of him.
Yeah, for sure. Wingspan of JC. 5'10", 178 right now.
And thank you guys for watching too, man. Definitely appreciate you watching and leaving feedback. Definitely appreciate that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I love doing these just like off the cuff live streams, just kind of like randomly.
Yeah, and just so you guys know, we have no itinerary. We kind of wing this. We don't really we don't have like a show sheet we follow. We just kind of talk off our heads here.
Yeah, for sure. All right, so we got looks like the Pro Football Talk mock draft pulled up, which let's see, just released, dude, 4/12, April 23rd. So 2-3 hours ago here. Caleb Williams at 1, Jaden Daniels at 2. Then we got a trade with the Vikings coming up to spot number 3 for Drake May. See, I feel like as we get closer and closer to the draft, New England is just going to hang there.
Yeah, I mean, I'm curious to see what the compensation would be because I mean they need a quarterback bad, man. I mean that's just you want a guy you can develop and sit and develop. I mean that's because Brissett's there, but you want a guy to sit and learn from him and eventually take over and start playing. So, but the Vikings too, they what Sam Darnold, so I'm sure they want to find a guy they can start growing as well.
But either way, man, I do feel like Drake May will be the 3rd pick. Again, I'm not buying the McCarthy hype at all with him going in the top 3.
Nope.
Marvin Harrison at 4, super obvious. I think that makes a lot of sense. I just, there's so much speculation about the Cardinals trading down. I feel like the Cardinals, like this is like picture perfect for them to just go land Marvin Harrison. Marvin Harrison before the draft, before the year started, was being mocked as the 2nd overall pick in the draft. I mean, dude, there was an argument of drafting Harrison 1 when Fields was playing well in the season. So if you're Arizona, you really need help at wide receiver. You got to give Kyler a weapon.
The kid's a
you
star.
Lose Hollywood Brown, right? And Harrison is there at 4. I just feel like it's too good to pass up if you're the Cardinals.
So now here with the Chargers getting Malik Neighbors, here's where I make my first phone call because I think as much as they need that wide receiver, I'm willing to offer them, tempt them something because they need playmakers. They need more than one wide receiver. They need a couple players here. So they can have Alan Lazard. I'll give you Alan Lazard if you want to, but I mean for me personally, that's Joe Douglas's first phone call right there. Seeing what the Chargers want.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. So here's an interesting one at spot number 6 with Joe Alt.
Why would they do that?
Going to the Giants. I guess the idea would be playing Alt at right tackle.
I mean,
because Evan Neal hasn't really worked out.
But dude, the Giants have. I mean, at that point, I don't know if I'd want to do that with them. I mean, wouldn't you go? You can go with Dunze there. Like you would. You need a. I mean, I don't know. What's more value? I guess would you have more value to offensive lineman or a wide receiver there? I would go the wide receiver with the Giants. Wouldn't you?
It's tough because Andrew Thomas is, really, really good football player. And so, it does make sense. Honestly, man, I think I would. I don't know, because what's so funny, anytime I make up my mind on something, there's always this same counter argument, which is this whole tackle versus receiver.
Yep.
Right. Because we can't really have it too much with the Jets because we don't have a second round pick. But with the Giants, it's like they can draft a tackle here at 6. And, everybody would freak out. Oh, man, like they're passing on a wide receiver. But they could come back in the top of round 2 and just go draft a receiver there. Like there's going to be so many of them in that like cluster of picks that early round 2, late round 1, like Keon Coleman, Troy Franklin, Xavier Worthy, maybe.
I just can't see this pick though. I can't see the Giants going there. It's just not. I understand the value of the pick. I just don't understand the fit with that pick.
Yeah, I mean it's always a question, taking like a star left tackle and swapping his position. They did it with Penei Sewell and it worked out, but yeah, I don't know. But so yeah, kind of the point of what I was just talking about was, or they can go wide receiver at 6 and then just go with a tackle in a deep tackle class at the top of round 2. So I do feel like this is a sweet draft opportunity for the Giants. Like no matter how it plays out, they will land, or they will have a choice between a top 2 offensive lineman.
Yep.
If Waller retires, whatever, Brock Bowers, I guess, could be in consideration. Or a top 3 wide receiver.
Yeah, I mean, that's just, I don't know about that one. So the Titans pick is interesting too, where a lot of people I've seen people that have him higher than Joe Alt, which is interesting.
Dude, the JC Latham stuff is kind of crazy. Like some people think he should be mocked in the 20s. Some people hate him. And I know like the big scare with like Alabama tackles, right? With like these guys not really working out. Are they a finished product at Alabama? Like was Saban getting the most out of them?
Yep.
Like did he max out his these guys' potential?
Yep.
Which I guess is a fair argument, but at the same time too, it's just like I don't want to overthink it. I mean, we can make that argument with so many different schools and coaches and whatnot.
No,
I don't want to judge a player by the helmet that he wears.
Right. So if you have so now you're sitting at 8. Right. And now it's like you still have this board is wild, dude. Cause like, oh, Dunze's still there. So if I'm Joe Douglas, I'm like, all right, that's interesting. But do you think the Falcons are going defense? Is that like kind of a foregone conclusion?
I don't think they will go offense. I think it's either going to be defense or trade out.
Right. I think so too. So like so if you're the Jets right now, in theory, how this draft board is playing, you're like, all right, if the Falcons are going to go defense, your offensive guys are falling to you. Like the guys that you really want are sitting right there.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, yeah, I because the thing is with Atlanta, if they love Byron Murphy, if they love Laiatu Verse, right, or like the top corner in the draft to add to Raheem Morris's defense, like I don't see the Falcons shooting back to the 20s. I think if they do move back, it'll be to the Jets at 10, the Vikings at 11, Broncos at 12, or Raiders at 13. Like I don't really see them sliding all the way back.
Yep. No, I agree. So that's interesting there. So then now it gets really interesting, man, because Fashanu going there is just like, all right, that's kind of a curveball, right?
I would think so. They have 2 playable tackles, one of which Darnell Wright at right tackle. I think that was a slam dunk pick that they made last year, I believe, within the top 10. And then, Broderick, in my opinion, is playable. He's not like horrible by any means.
Yep.
I think if Joe Alt is there, I might just say screw it and take Joe Alt. But any other tackle, I think, for me, Eberflus has so much pressure on him, and they made some moves on the defense side of the football, but I feel like the D line still needs some work.
I agree.
So whether that's Byron Murphy, who's like my favorite defensive tackle, or an edge rusher to take pressure off of Montez Sweat on the other side, I think both of those guys both of those guys make sense. I think you can justify the Bears going with a secondary member if they wanted to, right? To go
Yep.
get like a top end corner, like the choice of Eberflus in this draft, top end corner
Yep.
to pair up along side Gordon and Jalen Johnson. But I don't know. I think offense here for the Bears, like I don't want it to be overkill for Chicago offensively. If I
So
was a fan.
now, so based on how this draft board fell here at 10, my instant reaction would be Odunze or Bowers is going to be the pick. I would think you're going to go playmaker here. What do you think about them going Fuaga? Because I'm not sure I would go that direction based on what's available. Would you like that pick? Would you be okay with it? Or would you be like, you know what? Maybe I would have tried to trade back, or like, what would you think about that?
So real quick, I just wanted to give a quick shout out to Vegas here. I appreciate that, man. Thank you. Really, really appreciate that. Yeah, super nice.
Definitely appreciate it.
But I think actually real quick. It looks like okay, so I just clicked on the stars thing or the tab here. Looks like there's some super chats. Wilson, thank you so much, man. What are your top 5 draft scenarios for round 1? Man, this is again, I feel like the Jets can go in a million different ways and I will be satisfied.
Yep.
I think for me, my top 5 would be probably Neighbors or Harrison falls to the Jets. I doubt it, but I guess we can. I'll do top 5 players. So Harrison or Neighbors would be like my first choice. Second choice, I'd probably go Olu as my second, or just, let me reverse that. Alt would be my first choice.
Yeah.
If I could have anybody, Harrison, Neighbors would be number 2. Olu would be number 3. I think trade back would be 4. And then just sticking at 10 and picking either. Gosh, it's so tough. I don't think Bowers would be in my top 5, though. What about you?
I don't think so either. I don't think he's mine either. But I mean, my scenario is you're hoping that these guys fall to you, but like the top guys, you got to trade up to get them. And I'm more aggressive. Like I'm kind of repeating myself at this point, but I'm all about the playmakers, man. But like I said, like if Alt is sitting there at 10, I'm a Notre Dame guy to begin with, but that's a guy that's like, man, you sit him here, Tyron Smith, you're going to learn from him. There's a pretty good chance he's going to probably play at least 3 or 4 games this year anyway. And then next year you have your guy for the next 5-6 years. You have a guy. So I couldn't hate the Alt pick at all, dude. He's a very clean prospect, right? And it's a quality player. You know what you're getting. And it's a bookend for foreseeable future.
For sure. But Wilson, I appreciate that, man.
Yeah, thank you.
So Mitt, I need a mock draft with the Jets pick a defensive player at 10 just to be prepared. Yeah, it's
I would riot. I
could see Solid doing it, man. I could see.
Dude, I'll tell you right now, if the Jets take a defensive pick, I will call into your stream immediately. For like 2 minutes, and then I'll be done. I'm quitting. I'll be tired. I'll be over it.
Dude, who had the Jets going with Will McDonald last year?
Not me.
That's all I'm going to say. But Mitt, I appreciate the 5, man. Thank you. And then Tom, there's no debate. We have to take a weapon first, and trading up might be right. Hey, I'm not against the idea. You know what I mean? I think, but I will say this: if that's the case, if the Jets go Bowers, Odunze, Neighbors, whatever, we better go O-line in round 3.
Yep, I agree with that. And like I said, you have your contingencies. You can go out and sign, like right at the draft. Go sign your Donovan Smith, Connor McGovern, sign all those guys. Sign all 3. I don't care. Sign as many as you want. I mean, and the thing is, the money you just saved from Zack Wilson, that $3 million, 2.75, that literally could be Connor McGovern. That's his price tag. He's not making a lot.
Yeah. No, I mean it's. I think again, like the Jets have 10 different pathways that they can go down, and we're going to be a better team on the way out.
Yep.
Or after the draft. But no, and Tom, thanks again, man. Appreciate it. But Fuaga here, I mean, again, like you said, I don't want to keep repeating myself here, but I think Fuaga sitting behind, Moses, who had an injury last year and is on a 1-year deal, and he's 30 plus years old, would be an awesome situation for Felice, right?
Yep.
To have a good mentor, to have a nice kind of ease, kind of a bridge to becoming the starter, where you're not just thrown in if there is some rookie trouble. our OL because we have nobody else there. That is the bright side with Tyron and Morgan Moses. But I would like the pick, but I would find it, for me, my issue is with left tackle because I could see a world where Morgan Moses plays the entire year.
Yep, me too.
And granted, he's again on a 1-year deal. But I feel like right tackle is so much easier to find than a franchise left tackle. Dude, you can get a wide receiver whenever you want. You can trade for one, you can sign one, you can draft one. But franchise left tackles just don't hit the open market.
No.
We've
learned that for the last how many years? We've been through how many of them at this point? Every it's like what? You have Dwayne Brown, Mekhi Becton. We're going through all kinds of guys at this point.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's like Tristan Wirfs, Penei Sewell's. I know Penei Sewell plays on the right side, but just talking about a franchise tackle here, Taylor Decker, Rashawn Slater, Ronnie Stanley, they don't grow on trees.
Nope.
I feel like the only time a franchise tackle has been moved within the last handful of years has been Orlando Brown, going from KC as a free agent signing to the Chiefs, and that was because of financial reasons and wanting to be paid a ton of money. But with wide receiver, I mean, you can probably count 5 this year. You know what I mean?
Yep.
In Diggs and Keenan and Deontay Johnson. Jerry Jeudy was moved. What's going on with T. Higgins and who else? I mean, I know there's
AJ Brown to the Eagles.
Yeah, that was another trade a couple years ago. So personally, I'm not super stressed about figuring out the long-term plan at wideout because it's like you can go out and make a trade happen. You can go out and sign one pretty much whenever you want. But Tyreek Hill, massive name there.
Yep.
But with tackle, it's like, dude, if you're not hitting on one in the draft, good luck because they're not signing. You're just gonna have to deal with stopgaps.
Look, dude, Mekhi Becton. Look at what Jets are doing with Mekhi Becton right now. He didn't work out. We've been struggling to fill that spot since, right?
Yeah, dude, it sucks so much that we passed on Tristan. Wirfs is just such a mainstay for Tampa Bay, literally one of the best tackles in football, and he was right there for us. And that was, by the way, an example of Joe Douglas going for the potential, the ceiling over the safe pick.
Yep, he sure did. He swung big on that one.
Back to that big board.
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, again, Fuaga wouldn't be a bad pick in my opinion, but Bowers is on the board, Odunse's on the board.
Yeah, I wouldn't.
Brian Thomas is on the board.
I wouldn't. I mean, I understand the pick here. I just wouldn't like it. So,
you would.
I mean, you'd understand it, right? You wouldn't be mad about it, but it's just lacks that firepower, lacks that spark that you need.
I gotcha. All right, so let's pop over. Do you want to go through the rest of this one, or should we?
No, we'll go to the other one real quick. This one's interesting because it's two former general managers, and one was for the Jets. So,
yeah, I didn't see who the second general manager was when you sent it over.
It's Mike Tannenbaum and Rick Spielman.
Oh, okay. Got you. Let's see here. Share screen.
And Tannenbaum gets ripped all the time because he says some crazy stuff, but still, it's two general managers that are sharing their thoughts of what would happen here. And, I think the beginning starts the same, right? It goes, Caleb Williams, Daniels, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr. the same. Neighbors going to 5, right? J.G. McCarthy to Giants at 6. Wild.
If I was a Giants fan, this to me is like the second worst possible outcome, in my opinion. The worst is trading up for McCarthy.
Yep.
We talked about the Giants, for a while before, but to me, gosh, that just doesn't make any sense at all. And another thing too, if you want to get super detailed with it, one of the reasons why McCarthy was so successful is because he had life made at Michigan. Now he's going to the Giants with no receiver help, potentially a hole at tight end, a hole at running back. The offensive line, in my opinion, is not a top 10 offensive line. And you can say, all right, well, we're going to wait a year to play him.
Yep.
That maybe makes sense from a developmental standpoint, but do the Giants have a year to wait on that? Gosh, I don't know.
This would be an arrogant pick. This is Brian Daboll being arrogant. I can maximize this kid. I believe. No, it would be I believe in my system. I can make this kid be a star. I can believe this. Because he's going to have to carry the offense because they don't have any playmakers. You got to add playmakers. Like that would be a really tough spot for McCarthy, dude. Really. And I understand the whole Daniel Jones thing. Daniel Jones will start. You could bring him in later, but that's a kind of pick to get you fired, man. In my opinion.
Yeah, so Khan is saying that McCarthy's kind of like another Mac Jones, like game manager at the ceiling.
Yeah, and you're taking him at 6 when you already have Daniel Jones and you desperately need a playmaker. That's a rough one there.
Yeah, I mean, for New England, it makes sense to go QB.
Yep.
Because it's like, all right, guys, we're buckling down for the long haul.
Yep.
But if the Giants get 6 wins this year,
fired.
they're fired. They're not firing Mayo, even if they get 3 wins next year. But yeah, let me pop back over to it. All right, so Joe Alt with Tennessee. This almost makes too much sense to where it's like not going to happen on draft night, right?
It does make sense though, because Alt makes sense. Dallas Turner definitely makes sense.
Yep.
They have
they got Fashanu, or the Saints moving up for Fashanu. I love this fit. I just feel like they can go get him at 14 if the Jets don't take him at 10.
I think maybe that's their fear, that the Jets will take him at 10, so they had to trade up to get him.
So let's see. Jets with J.C. Latham. And the first thing that kind of just stands out to me is in both of these mock drafts, Rome Odunze fell.
Yep.
Out of the top 10. So
Yep.
in this one, he's going 14. In the other one, he went 12 to the Bills. So I don't know if that says anything or not, but
so based on how this draft board fell right here, and again, I'd be probably pissed off. I'm not gonna lie, because I'll probably have a couple of beers at this point. But Odunze and Brock Bowers are there. They take Latham, where it's like, all right, I understand the value, I understand the player. What would your instant reaction be right here if this was the actual pick?
See, my thought process, just naturally looking at this thing, is I would want the Saints to move up with us.
Right.
I mean, I know the thought is jump the Jets for Fashanu, but if I'm Chicago, I'm probably not, or if I'm New Orleans, I'm probably looking at Chicago as a defensive pick or wide receiver.
Yep.
I don't think they will go tackle. And also, too, another thing with New Orleans, they need help at both tackle positions.
Yep.
Like the Saints could go with Latham, they can go with Fashanu, they can go with Fuaga and be fine.
Yeah.
So, gosh, if I'm the Jets, I think I would call New Orleans and suggest, hey, do you want to come up? We move back to 14, and if the board plays out like this, we can go get Odunze, Fuaga, or Fanu.
I mean, if that was actually the case, if you trade back to 14 and get Odunze, you hit a home run, man. That's a slam dunk for them because you're getting really good value with Odunze, address the need, and you're adding draft compensation as well. That's the perfect world right there. Except, like, even to be honest, even with Bowers, if you trade back to 14 and get Bowers and get draft compensation, I wouldn't hate that either. It's like it's addressing two needs. You know what I mean? I think it's really good value for both right there.
Yeah, but I think, man, to stick at 10, I mean, again, I understand it. I want to go O-line, but I definitely, understand fans' frustration with like the lack of flair that comes with a backup, O-lineman in year one.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
No, I mean, it's a true need. Like, we understand it. Like, there's a lot of risk going into this year when you have older offensive linemen coming off injuries, everything else. We completely understand it. But to me, it's like I offset that by signing veteran players. I figure out a way. But to be honest, we could be in the same boat next year, and that really blows. You know what I mean? That's the problem. Like, you want it, like, and you're like, if you take Latham here, next year you have a guy. Now you have Tippmann, you have Latham, you have Simpson. Like, you have guys you can kind of piece together and put together your blueprint going forward. But that's I mean, I just want playmakers, man. It's just, that's interesting. Because then you figure, say they go offensive line in the first round, you're basically staying in the third round, 72, that I think you'd be forced to trade up to go in the second round to get a wide receiver then, right? You're not going to stand pat at 72.
Well, it's like, geez, man, like, what do you give up for that? Like, what do you move up? What do you give up to go move all those spots?
But would you think, or do you think that, okay, we go Latham at pick 10. Do you feel comfortable staying at 72 and be like, I think I can still get a quality wide receiver, not a 1A or 2, but a very good 3 that can maybe blossom into somebody over the next couple of years. Maybe Aaron Rodgers makes him a good player. Like, what's your level of confidence staying in the third round and getting a wide receiver there that can actually contribute?
I mean, it's tough. I have more faith in drafting a wide receiver in round 3 than an offensive lineman in round 3 because we've gone down that path before.
That's a great point, dude. That's a
Like
great
Max
point.
Mitchell, mid-round pick, Carter Warren, mid-round pick,
That's a great
Cam
point.
Clark, mid-round pick, but he obviously, for medical reasons. I mean, geez, dude, if we're being honest, like Douglas has struggled everywhere. Dwayne Brown, free agency, Mekhi Becton, first round, AVT, and Tippmann look to be the only hits.
Well, it's not like he's killing it with wide receivers either. You got what? You got Alan Lazard we're still dealing with. You got Elijah Moore's gone. Like there's a lot of. It's not like he's been a slam dunk in a lot of places.
Dude, looking back at that Elijah Moore thing, geez.
Terrible.
Like top round, what was it? Top of the round of round 2, right?
Mm-hmm.
And he's off the team within 3 years or 2 years, was it?
And that's the one problem that I have because, like, as an older Jet fan, I'm scorned because there's so many mistakes in the draft they made. Like, we could do like a game all day long of all the failed wide receiver picks: Denzel Mims, Elijah Moore, all these guys. You can do it over and over and over. Then you like offensive linemen, all these guys blew it. At some point, you got to say, you know what? Our general manager's got to do his goddamn job and get good value in the later rounds. Like, you can get credit for the first round. That's your job. But your job is also get contributors in a later rounds too, 3rd round, 4th round, 5th round. Like you got the undrafted free agent and Bryce Huff, great. You let him walk, which is ridiculous. Like he's got to do better later rounds, and you got to get more quality. And that's where I struggle because I don't have that faith. Where it's like, you know what? I'll trade in the first round to get that top receiver because I fear the 3rd round of getting a project that's not going to contribute. And Aaron Rodgers is sitting there staring at ducks because he can't find anybody.
Yeah, I mean, I think what really, really pisses me off is that we have a team in our division in the Buffalo Bills who draft really well.
100%.
They will let players go. Like everybody's freaking out, like, oh, they lost Trey White, they lost all these players.
Yep.
They're gonna be fine. They traded Stephon Diggs. Like they have shown year after year after year, they can replace players. Like Tremaine Edmonds is a great example. Young, up and coming linebacker who's looked really good for Buffalo, one of the better young ones in football. They let him just hit the open market, see ya. And they replace him with a 3rd round pick that they were developing. Yep. And there's like no drop off there at all. Matt Milano gets hurt. Oh, they got another linebacker who's young and developing. They just plug him right in and can play right away. Yep. And it's just so annoying because they're playing within the AFC East. And you kind of feel like that was New England's MO with Belichick, right? Yep. They lose Revis. Oh, we go get another corner. Yep. Malcolm Butler steps up, undrafted guy out of nowhere, and he's freaking dominant. Whereas like the Jets are missing year after year on 2nd round picks. Dude, I talk all the time about like the mid-round picks with my buddy Manny. Mm-hmm. Like the amount of names that just have not worked out is ridiculous. Like think about if we just hit on half of these 2nd round picks, like Amaro, Stephen Hill, Hackenberg. I like Geno a lot, but he didn't work out for the Jets.
I mean, you have it in there, or Darius Stewart, Chad Hansen. There's so many of them. And the weird thing is, like, over the years, like, not saying that Jet fans are always super smart, but in the past, we wanted Creed Humphrey. We wanted Landon Dickerson. We wanted guys like this. And like, oh, you got Jet fans.
Linderbaum.
Another one. We're like, we want it. And look at where they're at now. These guys are playing at such a very high level. It drives you absolutely crazy. And that's where Joe Douglas has just got to do a better job, man. And that's especially if you're going to stay at 10, not trade back, and then wait till the 3rd round. I don't want to hear excuses, man. Like, to me, it's like his job is on the line here. He's done a good job up until this point with some bad deeds, some quality players, but you need more, man. You got to get more contributors.
Yeah, dude, like people use the term lottery tickets when it comes to mid and late round picks. Like trade back, get more lottery tickets. Dude, I despise that term.
Me too.
When I think of lottery tickets, you're just scratching away, hoping for luck.
Yep.
If that's your approach and you're an NFL team, you're an NFL GM, you're getting paid millions of dollars, you've been doing this your whole life, you have every resource available, you can talk to the family, talk to the coach, talk to former players, talk to the player whenever you want, and the approach is trade back to get more lottery tickets, like that is, to me, a joke. Like, are the Chiefs looking at the draft? Like, dude, if the Jets were picking like 29th or 30th every year, we would be in trouble.
Oh, 100%. And that's like the argument. Would you rather have 2 4th round picks or 4 6th round picks? I want 2 4th round picks. I want them to hit. Like, you know what I mean? Like sometimes it's almost like Joe Douglas gets too cute, like moving back in the later rounds, all this other stuff. I'm like, dude, we need value. And this is why teams like the Ravens and the Eagles and all these other teams, They can deal with injuries. The Chiefs, they can deal with injuries. Next man up, they keep winning. And you find all this James Morgan, another friggin' player. But that's the difference, though. And like, it's great to praise Joe Douglas for the Sauce Gardners and the Garrett Wilsons. Talk to me about the positions after that, all the picks after that, and where's the value is. And we're forcing them into action, and they're not contributing. They're struggling. Even Izzy last year, Izzy's got a lot to prove. Like right now, for me, the Jets need a running back. But me, it's gonna be a veteran, not in the draft. But like, there's still a lot of, he drafts projects and injured players, and he hopes it's going to work out. And hope is never a plan, especially in the NFL.
Well, that I think perfectly sums up the Becton situation. Potential injuries.
Yep.
Or injuries potential, I should say. Yep. Yeah, dude, Trey Smith was a beast at Tennessee. He was, I believe, the number one offensive lineman coming out of high school. Guard, tackle, versatility. I liked him. Yeah, Brees is their only hope for the second round. But dude, Tyson, man, the stream went over an hour. I appreciate you taking the time, man. I really do.
Hold on, first of all, thank everybody for joining us. But I need I know it's 2 days early. Are you going to give your official? I know what you're going to do. You're going to be a jerk. You're going to be like, no, watch my video. Are you going to do your official prediction for your pick on the Jets' first round pick?
So I think it's going to be Odunze.
You think so? Are they going to stay at 10?
I think so. I think they will stay at 10 and he's going to fall to them. I think the Jets, and again, I'm not saying that's what I would do, but that's what I think the Jets will do. The thing is with O-line, because I want me some O-linemen, man. I'm so damn tired of seeing, because we're talking about the quarterbacks too, by the way. Darnold getting sacked, Zack Wilson getting sacked. These guys don't have a chance. But what about running backs?
Yep.
Like, dude, if you draft an offensive lineman and you hit there, yeah, it's going to help out Rodgers. It's going to help out the tight ends and the receivers, but it's also going to help out the running backs, man. Like Brees Hall, giving them lanes to run through. But when you listen to Douglas in his interviews, like these past couple months, talk about the O-line, he talks about it like it's a finished product. Like, yeah, it's, complete, and we feel great about where it's at right now, which makes me nervous because I don't want to be reading an article about Tyron Smith having to, take practices off to manage certain things and, or removing guys' positions around like we were doing last year.
Yep.
I'm just, it's just one of those things for me where it's like, if we're done making moves on the offensive line, these guys better stay healthy because in the AFC, you cannot afford to have your top players miss multiple games. Yeah. Like if Tyron Smith plays 13 games for the Jets, yes, it's 13 games, but is the wild card, is the AFC East being decided with 3 to 4 games? Like, no, it's like a half game. And that, I know it could be super detailed and super nuanced and super annoying, but that's just the reality. Like,
I agree with you. No, that's the challenge, to have that depth. That's why, to me, it's like I have these handshake agreements already in place. Bakhtiari, Donovan Smith, Connor McGovern. I do that. Honestly, I have the same player you do. I think they get Odunze as well, but I think they trade up to get him though. They go to like 8 and get him, or 7. I think they go up. I just think the Jets are gonna not panic, but they know they need to be aggressive because everybody wants tackles, everybody wants receivers, and for those that want Bowers, I get it. But there's so much smoke around the Jets liking Bowers that makes me not believe it. It's almost like overkill. Like, oh, the Jets are being linked to Bowers. It means it just, when that normally happens, it usually never happens in the draft, right? It's too obvious. It never works out that way.
I feel like it was kind of like that last year with Broderick Jones. Now, granted, the Jets didn't pass on Broderick Jones, but I felt like literally like he was going to be the pick, man. Like that to me 100%. Was like Broderick Jones had JETS written all over him. And whatever, Pittsburgh trades up to one spot in front of us to go get him, which sucks. But I believe that he was, and coincidentally, man, he looked like the best rookie offensive lineman a year ago, which is freaking nuts to think about. If we had Broderick Jones, we wouldn't be talking about O-line issues.
Yeah, 100%.
But yeah, I mean, I think the silver lining though, right? And to kind of end the stream off on this, and I appreciate everybody hanging out and watching. And, like we were talking about before, I am going to be live on draft night, hanging out with my brother. Tyson's going to pop in. Are you going to be doing anything on your channel or just chilling?
Just chilling, watching it, man. Have a couple beers and just enjoy it. I like the drama of it all, man. I like the anticipation. Like I don't go on social media because I want nothing to be ruined. I kind of want to be like, all right, as it's playing out, kind of formulate your own opinion. Like, what would I do here? What would I do here? Then when it happens, you can react to it. You know what I mean? So I kind of do it that way.
Yeah, for sure. Well, yeah, dude, feel free to pop in whenever, before the pick, after the pick, whatever.
100%.
Should be a lot of fun. But yeah, again, to kind of end off, Fuaga, Olu, Bowers, Thomas, Odunze, Neighbors, Harrison, whatever, like trade back. I feel like the Jets can really like, dude, even if the Jets were to move back, let me just to 22, Eagles come up for a corner because there's tons of smoke around that right now.
Yep.
We shoot back to 22 and we land Brian Thomas, or we land one of these offensive linemen.
Yep.
And we pick up a second round pick. We pick up maybe a second round pick next year. We get maybe a couple mid rounds in next year's class too. That would be something I'm down for.
100%.
Like there's so many different things that could happen.
Well, that's the thing is once they trade back, it's before you overreact, like, oh my God, they went to 17. See how the draft board plays out, because there's always surprises every year. There's always a name that comes out of nowhere. Everybody's like, oh, who the hell is this guy? Like me, Will McDonald. I had no idea who Will McDonald even was last year. I had to go to my house, like, who's Will McDonald? So like a trade back, before you get mad about it, see what actually happens for both the picks, like the pick that you go trade back to and the compensation as well. So it gets really interesting.
For sure, man. For sure. All right. Well, I think, actually real quick, what if we move back to 22 and we pick Mitchell from Texas? How would you feel about that?
See, now you're starting to make me why you messing with me, man?
I'm literally that thought just popped in my head. I'm just throwing it out there.
I mean, I think I'd be disappointed. Well, you probably be happy
but we get a second round pick this year.
And a second round, I mean,
and future picks.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I mean, what would you do? I mean, I guess I had to sell myself on it a little bit because my expectations are kind of high.
There's nothing wrong with Mitchell.
That's JKC 77. What's Jet Central saying?
I like Mitchell. I like Thomas more, but
yeah,
it was just a random thought. Just throwing it out there.
22. I mean, it depends on who's actually also available at that time too.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts on Worthy? Because I saw Trevor from Canada mentioning him a lot today.
Yeah. Actually, yeah, right here. I like Worthy. I'm a bit nervous about the size. He kind of reminds me of Diggs at Maryland, if I'm being honest. Like explosive, obviously the 40 time the speed and whatnot, but
was he like 6 foot, 6'1", 6 foot? Well, I forgot.
He looks slender.
Yeah,
out there. He's not, to me, he does not look like the biggest dude. He looks like somebody that's gonna have to like get down before the defender comes, or he's gonna have to step out of bounds.
Right.
Okay, so Trevor says 5'11".
Yeah, I thought he was. I mean, speed never hurts in the NFL. You can do a lot of different things with speed, so I get it. It'd be interesting. I just can't wait, man. I'm so glad we're here. It's been months of just talking about could haves and should haves and what ifs. I'm just glad we're finally here.
See, I would do this if I'm New York here.
Jets tree number 10. Yeah, for hell yeah, I'd do that. Me and Mike and the stat guy. Me and this guy right here are good friends, man. I'm down with this guy. I'm on your wavelength, my friend.
Because ATL can go get whoever they want at 10. The only thing is the big question with that, right? Atlanta going from 8 to 10 is if Chicago wants, because Odunze will be off the board, so that argument will be gone.
Yep.
So Chicago with no Odunze, do they go top edge rusher, taking him over Atlanta? So I think the only way this works is if the Falcons want a player that's not really being talked about, they want a corner, or they are fine with like 3 different edge rushers.
It could be a corner because at this point, it could be the best corner in the draft. Could still be sitting there.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see, JK. I appreciate that, bro. Donnie Mitchell, better than Xavier Worthy. I think I like Mitchell too, more than Worthy.
It's gonna be interesting. I'm curious because there's gonna be such a run on wide receivers. It's gonna be interesting to see what guys are even there. Late first round, go through the second round, and then once you get to the third round, who's actually available too is gonna be fascinating, man.
Last one here. K dude, I appreciate that, bro. Thank you. Anthony Gold, wide receiver, Oregon State, sleeper day 3 wide receiver. I'll hold you to that, man. I'll hold you to that. Thank you. Tyson, thanks so much, man. Anything else you wanted to add?
No, thank you guys for watching. Thanks for all the feedback on the videos, too. We definitely appreciate it. And then I'm looking forward to our draft recap video next week, man. We can argue and have all kinds of fun.
Dude. Yes, that should be a lot of fun. And also, too, man, one thing I'm really, really looking forward to is undrafted free agent talk.
Yep.
Definitely. I think that'd be really cool to kind of go over too. But yeah, thanks for tuning in, hanging out on a Tuesday, hour and 20 minutes. I appreciate everybody hanging, chilling. Tyson, thanks again so much, and excited for next week.
Can't wait, man. Yeah, thank you guys. And big night for the Jets coming up. Big weekend coming for the Jets right now.
Wait, hold up. Oscar says wait. Wait for
it's good.
Yeah. Let's do it. Let's do it.
Come on, man. Oscar always causes problems.
We're waiting on this question.
We're not taking a quarterback in round 1 because I will cancel. My channel will be done. I'll be done. I'm going to retire.
What if Drake May? What if, dude? Crazy stuff happens, man. Draft night.
There's not a world that I'm taking a wide receiver, a quarterback in the first round. I can't, dude. My sanity. Oh,
I would not like that.
No, nope, and no.
And it's nothing against Mitchell, by the way, but DJ Reed is my dude, and I want the Jets to re-sign him.
Yep, and you're gonna pay Michael Carter as well.
Flight 24 at 8. Hey, good call, man. Good call. And then JK, thank you so much, bro. I appreciate it. Another one here. Xavier Worthy is another Turpin.
Who flies. Yep.
We'll see, man. We'll see how it plays out. Yeah, you got it, Oscar. Thanks a lot, guys. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. And as always, go Jets.